Hey guys, sorry if it's a little echoey in here. My roommate moved out, and that made my room really echoey and empty. I tried to fix it a little bit, but I don't think it helped. Anyway, by definition, what is an antagonist and what is a villain? An antagonist is 1. A person who actively opposes or is hostile to somebody or something. The most prominent opponent of the leading character in a play, film, novel, etc. It doesn't always have to be the most prominent one, however. A villain is a character whose evil actions or motives are important to the plot. The person or thing responsible for specified trouble, harm, or damage. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Alright. This isn't something that should bother me as much as it does. And this is something that I don't want to do that often, but it was really starting to cause me like a little bit of ire to see these comments come in and just not understand this concept. If you don't know what I'm talking about my Is Marie a Villain video. Now, I'll admit it's not the best video I've ever done, and I slapped it together rather quickly. However, I ended up rewatching it again to make sure I wasn't making up any of the points that I could remember, or any of the things that I did or didn't say. And I'm just seriously wondering if anyone who comments on that video actually watches it. Because when I'm reading these comments, I do read them, by the way. I go back to the video and I listen to it for about 30 seconds, and a point that was made in the video is something someone is asking or making a point about, as if I didn't put it in there. Now, listen. Everyone is allowed to disagree with me on whether or not Marie is an antagonist of Amori. I mean, even I question it, you know? Like, that was the point of the video, because I was like, could she be considered one? Could she not? And I get it, people don't consider her one, and that's okay. However, within the first 30 seconds of the video, I say something, or even Sunny himself, are antagonists of the story, but that I think that Amori has multiple antagonists. This is something I feel like people didn't seem to quite grasp or understand. I think Marie is an antagonist to Amori. I know a few times in the video I say the antagonist, but in the beginning I had said one of, so I guess I kind of assumed people would understand. Clearly not, so that's my bad on that part. Secondly, people seem to misunderstand me and think that I am making up the definition for antagonist. Often within the comments, I will see comments that say, well, by your definition of the antagonist, then, or Marie is not an antagonist because antagonists are evil. I don't know if that one exists for sure, but I see these comments and I'm sitting here like, has no one ever written a story before? Has no one ever watched a show? Has no one ever watched a show where the antagonist isn't a bad guy, but their ideals are different from ours? Sure, Marie might be a little different than that, but that doesn't discard her from being able to be an antagonist. The difference between a villain and an antagonist is that the villain is most definitely an antagonist. However, an antagonist is not always a villain. And I think that's what people are failing to understand when they're watching what I'm trying to say in that video. It's like they think that I'm calling her evil when that's not what I'm trying to do. I don't think she's evil, and I don't think that she's fully to blame for what happened. But I do think she is a force that opposes Sunny throughout the story. And that's something that I don't believe people are fully understanding. Antagonist may have one meaning in everyday use. However, when it comes to literature, there's actually a different definition for it as well. The antagonist is a person or a force. I know I've said this a little bit, but I feel like I need to reiterate it. But it doesn't have to be a person who opposes the protagonist over the course of the story. That person is typically bad, but does not always have to be. An example of this that I use in the video, spoiler warning, is for Death Note. In Death Note, the protagonist is the bad guy. The protagonist is the one we are watching and who we are rooting for, but he is a villain. Yes, Villains can be protagonists, which means that heroes can be antagonists. And I know this is such a crazy concept, and forgive my exasperation and sarcasm, but you would not believe the amount of comments I have gotten on that video that do not seem to understand this. I will admit some fault to this, however. In the video, I'm talking about Marie as if she is actively there and it is her herself who is doing this. I forgot to mention that I think that this is an internal thing, which might bring one to believe that Sunny's own mind is the antagonist, which I think is true. However, as I mentioned before, I think there's multiple antagonists. I think the memory of Marie is an antagonist. The trauma she left behind and the inevitable stress that laid behind her as she left. As I mentioned in the video, I also don't think Marie is void of blame. I don't blame her for what happened, but I also can't say that she's innocent in the matter. In my opinion, it's fine if you disagree, Marie was a perfectionist. She wanted everything to be perfect. She had to be perfect, which meant Sunny had to be perfect, because Sunny was something that meant a lot to her, so she wanted him to be the best that he could be. I think that she loved Sunny to death. I think she saw so much potential in him and wanted him to thrive and be successful. I think these beliefs caused her to push him too hard. I believe that there were events that we didn't see that happened with Marie pushing him too hard, which inevitably led to him pushing her back. Now, I don't blame either of them, but I do think that Marie caused Sunny more pain than she ever meant to, even when she was alive. Now, I'm not going to get too much further into all of this because this was a simple video to try to elaborate on some of the things I felt weren't clear enough to others and fix some of the mistakes on my part as well. Thank you all for hearing me out and being understanding and kind in the comments below. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you all next time.